The problem was never that God was taking too long. The problem has always been you living as if he was still thinking about it. You ask, but you keep walking around carrying doubt on your back. You pray, but when you get up off the floor, your eyes are still locked on what's missing, on what hasn't happened yet. And that's exactly where everything stalls. Jesus already made this clear. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Believe that you have received it, past tense, before you see it, before you touch it, before there's proof. Real faith operates in God's time, and God's time is always now. Heaven has already moved the pieces. The answer has already been signed. The decree has already gone out from the throne, but you have to act in alignment with that. Every breakthrough begins with a belief so strong that your mind starts moving like the outcome is already real. Acting before you see it, walking before the road appears, speaking about victory while the world only sees the battle. Today I want you to understand something that can completely rewire how you live. God has already answered your prayer. The answer already exists. It's in the spiritual realm, waiting for your posture in the physical world to bring it into manifestation. It's like there's a package with your name on it sitting in heaven's distribution center, but you still have to open the door to receive it. And opening that door means waking up every day and living like someone who has already been answered. Think about Joshua. When he stood in front of Jericho, he wasn't looking at a small obstacle. He was staring at a fortress, massive walls, a powerful army. And God said to him in Joshua 6:2, "I have delivered Jericho into your hands." I have delivered, past tense. The walls were still standing. The soldiers were still armed. The city still looked untouchable. But from God's perspective, it was already settled. So what did Joshua do? He acted like the walls had already fallen. He marched. He obeyed. He walked in circles when any military strategist would have called it insanity. He chose to trust the decree and move accordingly. And the walls fell. They fell because Joshua's actions lined up with the word that had already been spoken. So let me ask you, how many walls in your life are still standing simply because you're still acting like God is silent? How many doors are still closed because you knock on them with trembling hands full of doubt, instead of turning the handle with the authority of someone who knows there's already a table prepared on the other side? Psalm 23 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Notice that. The table is already prepared. The enemies are still there. The problems are still around. The difficulties are still visible. But the table already exists. The feast has already been served. David understood that God's provision operates regardless of circumstances. He learned that in the wilderness. He learned it running from Saul. He learned it facing a giant when he was still just a boy with a sling. David acted before he saw the outcome, and that's exactly why the outcome kept coming. Starting now, I want to offer you a challenge. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, before you grab your phone, before you check any messages, say this out loud. I'm going to live today like someone who has already received the answer. Say it with conviction. Say it looking at the ceiling, at the sky, at whatever is above you. Then get up and act accordingly. If you asked for a new job, get up and prepare like someone who's already been hired. If you asked for healing, get up and take care of your body like someone who's already been restored. If you asked for a family, get up and become the person ready to receive that gift. Real faith moves your feet before your eyes can see the destination. God has already answered. The question is, will you act like you heard him? There's something that destroys more dreams than failure, more than financial crisis, more than betrayal. It's the voice, that inner voice that shows up the moment you decide to believe in something bigger than your current reality. It whispers. It disguises itself as logic, as reason, as just being realistic. It says, who do you think you are to believe that's going to happen? It says, look at your bank account, look at your history, look at where you came from. And the worst part is, it uses your voice. So you think it's you, but hear me clearly, that voice is not you. That voice is fear dressed up as wisdom. And every time you obey it, you're choosing the report of circumstances over the decree of the Creator. When the 12 spies were sent to explore the promised land in Numbers 13, 10 of them came back saying, The land is good, but the people are giants. We looked like grasshoppers next to them. Pay attention to what happened there. God had already said the land was theirs. He had already promised it. He had already decreed it. But 10 men looked at the size of the problem and decided God's promise was smaller than what their eyes could see. And what happened? They died in the wilderness. An entire generation wandered in circles for 40 years because they chose to believe the report of fear instead of the report of faith. But 2 men saw it differently, Joshua and Caleb. Caleb said, "Let's go up at once and take possession of the land, because we can certainly overcome it." He saw the same giants, walked the same ground, heard the same reports. But his reference point was different. While the 10 measured the problem by the size of the giants, Caleb measured the problem by the size of his God. And 45 years later, at 85 years old, Caleb was still standing, still climbing mountains, still taking possession of what had been promised. His faith didn't age. So let me ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. Have you been living like Caleb, or like the 10 spies? Have you been measuring your life by the size of who God is, or by the size of what's standing in front of you? Because that's the difference between conquering and dying in the wilderness. Both pray, both ask, both know the promise, but only one acts like the promise is true. Napoleon Hill wrote something that should be read in every church in the world. Most people quit 3 feet from gold. 3 feet. They dig, they sweat, they bleed. And when they're one shovel away from the discovery that would change everything, they stop. They walk away. And someone else comes later, with less effort, and finds what they abandoned. That happens every single day. It happens in marriages, in businesses, in callings, in ministries. People quit in the waiting room of the miracle because they confuse delay with denial. But listen carefully. God's silence is never God's absence. When he seems quiet, he's working. When heaven feels silent, spiritual gears are turning in places your human eyes simply can't reach. Isaiah 55 says his thoughts are higher than your thoughts, and his ways are higher than your ways. There is divine engineering happening in your life right now that you will only understand when you look back. Every delay, every detour, every dark night, each one has a precise purpose in God's hands. Think about Joseph, sold by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, enslaved, imprisoned for a crime he never committed. If you looked at his life in any one of those moments, you might say God had forgotten him. You might say the dreams he had as a young man were nothing but illusions. But every stage was positioning. Slavery took him to Potiphar's house. Prison connected him to the cupbearer. The cupbearer brought him before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh elevated him to governor of the entire nation. Joseph went from the pit to the palace, from betrayal to authority, from pain to purpose. And when it all came together, he said to his brothers, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." What you're interpreting as abandonment might actually be positioning. What looks like punishment might be preparation. What feels like pain might be God shaping you into the person capable of carrying what was promised. Because God doesn't hand palaces to people who still think like they're in a pit. He develops you in the process. He strengthens you in the waiting. He transforms you along the way. So today, I want you to do something different. Take the situation in your life that feels impossible, and instead of asking again, start thanking him. Change your posture, change your language. Instead of saying, "God, please help me," say, "God, thank you, because I know you're already working." Instead of begging for a way out, lift your head and say, "I trust your timing, and I know every second of this waiting has a purpose I'll understand later." That changes everything. It changes your energy. It changes your posture. It changes how you wake up, how you work, how you face hard days. Gratitude in advance is heaven's language. When you thank him before you see it, you're saying, "I trust you more than I trust my eyes." And that kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith makes the impossible bow before someone who refuses to doubt the author of the promise. Now I want you to stop whatever you're doing. If you're on a bus, in your car, lying in bed, at work, wherever you are, pause. Take a deep breath. Fill your lungs like it's the first time you've ever breathed. And now I want to take you somewhere. Not physically, but somewhere deeper than that. I want you to walk with me inside your own story. You're going to need courage for this, because I'm going to ask you to see what God sees when he looks at you. Imagine you're standing in a long hallway. It's dark. The floor is cold. The walls feel tight, almost closing in. You feel the weight of every debt, every rejection, every word someone spoke over you that stuck to your identity like it was truth. You've carried it for so long that you don't even feel the weight anymore. It became normal. You walk bent on the inside and think that's just how you were built. But at the end of that hallway, there's a door. Light is slipping through the cracks around it. You've always known something was on the other side. You've always felt it. But every time you take a step toward it, that voice shows up. You'll get there and it'll be locked. You'll try to open it and it'll just be another disappointment. That light isn't for you. It's for someone better, someone more prepared. And you stop. You always stop. Right there in the middle of the hallway, between the pain you already know and the promise you're afraid to reach. Now listen carefully. I want to show you what's on the other side of that door. On the other side is a version of your life you abandoned. There's the peace you cried out for at 3 in the morning. There's the full table when you only ever knew crumbs. There's the embrace that heals when all you felt is distance. There's your calling alive, your purpose active, your voice being used to change other lives. There's you, whole, restored, free. And that door was never locked. God left it open the day you prayed the prayer you thought he ignored. You didn't get denied. You stopped walking. Revelation 3:8 says, "See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it." No one. No diagnosis can shut it. No layoff can shut it. No divorce can shut it. No bankruptcy can shut it. No curse spoken over you can shut it. If God opened it, it's open. The only thing that happened is you stopped in the hallway and stared at the walls instead of walking toward the light. Now imagine this. You decide to move. One step, then another. Fear screams, but you keep going. The light gets brighter with every step. Your shoulders start to straighten. Your breathing changes. And when you finally reach that door and push it open, what's waiting on the other side isn't judgment. It's not disappointment. It's God smiling like a father who always knew his child would make it home. No accusation. No, "Why did you take so long?" Just open arms. And one sentence, "I knew you'd come." That's how heaven feels about you right now. Not frustration, not impatience. Expectation. God is leaning forward, waiting for your next step. He's already seen your future. He already knows who you're becoming. He has already spoken things over your life that would make you cry if you could hear them right now. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for harm, plans to give you a future and a hope." He knows. He always has. Even when you doubted yourself, he never doubted you. Even when you felt unworthy, he called you chosen. Even when the mirror showed failure, heaven saw purpose. Napoleon Hill once said that every human being carries within them a seed of achievement equal to their greatest dream. The mind that can conceive a desire is also capable of achieving it. But most people bury that seed under layers of fear, other people's opinions, and memories from the past. And that seed stays alive, waiting, pulsing, waiting for the day you decide to water it with faith instead of suffocating it with doubt. So here's what I want you to do. Go to the comments and write this. The door is open, and I'm walking through it. Write it now, before you overthink it, before that voice tells you it's silly. Because when you declare something, something shifts inside you. When your hand types what your spirit already knows, something breaks in the invisible. It's like signing a contract with heaven, an agreement between you and God, saying, "I choose to believe before I see." A lot of people will hear this moment and do nothing. They'll feel something. They'll nod. They'll even agree. Then they'll close the video and go back to the same pattern. Back to the hallway. Back to staring at the walls. Back to waking up tomorrow with the same weight. I don't want that to be you. I want today to mark a line in your story, a before and an after. And it starts with one declaration, one small act of courage that carries more power than you realize. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Every word you speak is building something. When you declare that the door is open, you are building your future. You are aligning your voice with God's voice. And when those two voices agree, the impossible loses its authority to intimidate you. Stay with me. We're not done. The hallway is behind you. The door is open. And what comes next will require a courage you don't even know you have yet. One small act of courage that carries more power than you realize. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Every word you speak is building something. When you declare that the door is open, you are building your future. You are aligning your voice with God's voice. And when those two voices agree, the impossible loses its authority to intimidate you. Stay with me. We're not done. The hallway is behind you. The door is open. And what comes next will require a courage you don't even know you have yet. One small act of courage that carries more power than you realize. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Every word you speak is building something. When you declare that the door is open, you are building your future. You are aligning your voice with God's voice. And when those two voices agree, the impossible loses its authority to intimidate you. Stay with me. We're not done. The hallway is behind you. The door is open. And what comes next will require a courage you don't even know you have yet. Now I'm going to ask you something that will separate the ones who just listened from the ones who decided. Everything you've heard so far, every word, every image, every verse, was preparation for this moment. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. And God didn't bring you here to entertain you. He brought you here to transform you. James 1:22 says, "Be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves." That's strong language. It means if you listen and don't move, you're not stuck because of life. You're stuck because of inaction. So here's the challenge. For the next 21 days, not someday, not when you feel ready, starting tomorrow, for 21 days, you will do 3 things before anything else. Before your phone, before coffee, before conversation. First, read 1 chapter from the book of Joshua every morning. Why Joshua? Because it's the book of conquest. It's about stepping into promises that look impossible. It's about marching when walls are still standing. It's about taking territory one step at a time. Read slowly. Read like it's written directly to you. Because it is. Second, after you read, stand up and declare 7 truths out loud. 7. Pick 7 verses about who God says you are. Write them down. Put them on your wall. And every morning, say them with authority. Not quietly. Not timidly. With conviction. Joshua 1 says to meditate on the word day and night so that you may act according to it, and then you will prosper and succeed. Speaking truth daily rewires identity. Third, and this one is the hardest. Every day, ask yourself one question. What step have I been avoiding? And then take it. That same day, the call you've been postponing, the forgiveness you've been delaying, the application you haven't sent, the conversation you've been afraid to have, the habit you know needs to die, the relationship you know needs to end. One step, every day. No waiting for perfect conditions. Because perfect timing is usually fear in disguise. If you do this for 21 days, something will shift. By day 7, you'll notice fear is quieter. By day 15, you'll feel clarity you haven't felt in years. By day 21, you'll look back and barely recognize who you were. Because consistent obedience burns away false identity. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" God is already doing something new in your life. The question is, will you participate? Or will you just watch? God collects your tears. Psalm 56 says he keeps them in a bottle. Joel 2:25 says he restores the years the locusts have eaten. Not the days, not the weeks, the years. Nothing was wasted. Not the betrayal, not the delay, not the heartbreak. not the failure. He redeems it. Napoleon Hill ended his most powerful work with a statement that still echoes today. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. If God planted the desire in you, He already prepared the ground for it. Seeds are never created without soil. So mark this day. Remember this moment, because today is the day you stop asking permission to live what heaven already approved. Today is the day the hallway ends. The door opens. The mat gets picked up, and you walk. Corinthians 5 says we walk by faith, not by sight. Your eyes may see obstacles, but your faith chooses direction. There will be hard days. There will be moments when fear tries to pull you back down, but you know the truth now. And truth, once truly heard, won't leave you alone. It will pull you forward. Again, and again, and again. Act like He already answered, because He did, and the proof is still beating inside your chest. You're alive, and as long as you're breathing, there is purpose. Now go. God is with you. He always has been,